What do we do when everything we believe in is threatened, and fear becomes our daily companion? In the darkest corners of history, there are still flickers of light, quiet, persistent, and brave. This is the story of two rabbis who chose to be that light. In the shadow of terror, two souls carried the flame of faith. It was Nazi Germany, a time when silence was survival, and prayer could be a death sentence. Yet, two rabbis, bound by duty and love for their people, traveled in secret, disguised, cautious, and constantly looking over their shoulders. They moved from town to town, offering spiritual comfort to Jewish communities living in fear. They whispered blessings in basements, led ceremonies in candlelit attics, and risked everything to remind people that even in horror, holiness could still be found. But fate caught up with them. One cold morning, the Gestapo stormed in. The rabbis were arrested, dragged away, and locked in a dim prison cell with iron bars and stone walls that seemed to swallow sound. The world outside faded. No more rituals, no more voices. Just silence and fear. The first rabbi, trembling, fell to his knees and began to pray. His lips moved constantly, whispering ancient words, pleading for mercy, for escape, for a miracle. He didn't sleep, he barely breathed. His fear consumed him. The second rabbi curled up in the corner and slept. Hours passed. Days, maybe. The first rabbi, alarmed, finally asked, "How can you sleep? Don't you understand what could happen to us?" The second rabbi opened his eyes slowly, looked at the cracked ceiling, and replied, "Before we were caught, I was terrified every moment. But now, we're already here. The worst has happened. What good is fear now?" He paused, then added, "I sleep to save my strength, because I know I'll need it. The time for fear is over. Now is the time for hope." And in that quiet cell, a seed of hope was planted. No one knows what became of them, whether they were released or remained behind those walls forever. But the story lives on, not because of how it ended, but because of how they chose to live in the face of despair. Reflections and life lessons. Fear is natural, but hope is a choice. When the worst has already happened, fear only drains us. We must learn to preserve our energy for what we can still change. Even in the darkest places, we can choose how to respond. Questions to reflect on. Are you holding on to fear for something that has already passed? How much of your energy is spent on the past, and how much is saved for the future? If today were your prison cell, would you pray or sleep to gather strength? And most importantly, are you living with hope or merely surviving with fear? And most importantly, are you living with hope or merely surviving with fear?